So welcome to Node.js, and we want to discuss and try and understand Node.js and try also make Node.js more simpler because when it comes to an introduction to any language or any technology, if you have a good understanding of its introduction or its simplicity, that is where now you can get to know more about even advanced features of that particular language. So welcome to Node.js, and let's just make a brief introduction to what it is, and at least to perform some operations. So at this particular point, we're going to discuss about what is Node.js and how does it work. And from there, we will now move to other things, but I just want to make sure that this discussion will make you understand Node.js in its simplicity. Now, when you talk about Node.js, you must realize that it's actually a combination of two words. We have Node and then we have the JS. Now, you will come across some features or some technologies or some terms. For example, you're talking about the JavaScript frameworks, and sometimes we end up talking about the Node.js, we're talking about the React, we're talking about the Vue.js, but let's just discuss about Node.js. And you realize that before you got to Node.js, you are taken through the JavaScript, and that means in JavaScript, you're being prepared for Node.js, so that once Node.js is again introduced, you will have a better understanding, since it will involve some bit of, it will involve JavaScript. And the actual work of a Node.js, is actually to ensure that there is a response, there's a request and response from the server, either to and from the server, because you have the browser. We assume that we have the browser, and through this browser, you have the browser on one side, and you also have the server on the other side. So in this scenario, I want to kind of take note of, just click a notepad and just to explain a little bit about the functionality part of it. And let me just take a snipping tool like that. Just a snipping tool like that. And through this, I'll be able to explain one or two things. So I just want to understand a little bit. So from this perspective, okay, yeah. So from this perspective, you have Chrome here, which is actually your browser. So you have your Chrome here. So assume that is your browser. And then you have, when it comes to this part, okay, so you have your server there. You will have your server there. So it is actually the Node.js that comes in between. And I wish I'd have a good writing. But remember, this side is actually the Chrome or your browser, and then this other side is your server. So the communication between your browser and the server is actually done by Node.js. If at all you want to execute some JavaScript code. So I'll just make sure that we have that practicality. But let me just start by explaining or trying to mention about what is Node.js. And by default, you are supposed to use a text editor because it's actually JavaScript. We don't have specifically Node code, but at the end of the day, we must involve or embed JavaScript. So it's actually through JavaScript that we have a Node, or that we have to use Node. So it's another way of getting the output. And with Node.js, we have different functionalities, like how can we use Node.js or what Node.js is all about. So we'll try and discuss. what this is all about. So if you're using any browser, then whether it's VS Code, Sublime, it will work. It will work. Now, from this perspective, I have managed to create a specific folder. I have a folder here in local disk C, which is actually called Node Tester. And I've actually imported that Node Tester here on my VS Code. And this is something that by now you don't have any issue because you've gone through a lot of writing of codes with these text editors. So I'll just create an example of JS, some JavaScript code, and here we are. Now, from this point, we can just have an example, like I can have something like console.log. This is purely JavaScript. I can talk of, let's say, hello world. Hello world. And for me to execute this Node.js, remember Node.js is already installed. Then to type here Node, you'll be able to see that I downloaded Node.js and installed the Node.js. And after installing Node.js, you also need to make sure that the path is recorded in the environmental variables. For example, you come here, you just type env. You have to go edit the system environment, click on that. It will bring you to this part. You have to click environment variables and then come to system variables. Then you click on path and then click edit. So you have to click edit. And once you edit, you must have this path. You must have this path. So this is recording the path for the system to understand, Now, if you look at this path, this path is found here. So you have to go to local disk C, come to program files, come to Node.js, come to Node modules, and then you have the npm, and then you have the bin. So this is the path you need to copy. This is the path you need to make sure that you copy. So this is the path. So this is the path for that application to be registered within the system. Now, if I'm to run this in using this JS file using terminal, then I'll just come here, terminal, new terminal. And then having the new terminal, just delete that. Let me come again, terminal, new terminal. I can execute my code here. And you can see that already I'm in that particular folder, which is my default folder or Node tester folder. So for me to execute or for me to ensure that the node, this application or this program is actually executed, then I can do this. Let's test it. I don't know what's happening. Let me just come new title. Let's see. It's supposed to give me. Okay, so let me just type node and then just use app.js. If I press enter, so I should actually have, so node app.js. So this file is called JS. Let me just click start to the web server. Okay, let me try it again. So let me come again and try. This time round, we should have yes. So you need to make sure that the server is started. You must make sure that the server is started. So here I have the hello world, and this is actually JavaScript code. This is just JavaScript code. But remember, since it's JavaScript code, I have not actually used any Node.js. Another way that you can execute this is when you just open your CMD, because your Node.js is already configured. And if you look at this part here, I have actually managed to install Node, because if you just come and talk of, you want to find the Node -v, the version, you can see that I have version 20.12.2. So once you install it and make sure that you register the path in the environmental variables, that is when you will end up having Node. Now, another way is if I change this path, let's say, hi, this is Kenya. This is Kenya. Now, I don't want to execute it from this point, but I just want to open just the Windows command prompt. And then from here, I need to locate that, that path. Now, the easiest way for me to locate to node tester is this. I'll just come directly to local disk C because this is where I have the node tester. I'll just open it and you'll find that I have this document here. And then I'll just click on the path and then type CMD, press enter. So by pressing enter, it's going to open that path directly, node tester. And then this time around, if I do dir, that is of course to check whether we have the availability of app.js, you can see that I have this app here. But now for me to execute, I can do node, then app.js. Now you can see again, hi, this is Ken. So there's no need for you to use or be limited to using the terminal or that text editor for you to get the results. So you can actually use different ways. Again, you don't need to just use like app.js. If you forgot about the extension and just press like that, automatically it will come through that. So this is just the example of using Node just to get some applications running. But now I want us to do an introduction to Node.js. So when we talk about Node, what is Node.js? What is Node? What is Node.js? So the question is, what is Node.js? So when it comes to Node.js, you must know that Node.js is not a programming language. Node.js is not a programming language. It's not a programming language as such. But it is what we call a runtime environment. JavaScript, Node.js is a runtime environment. Now, it's a runtime environment that allows you to run JavaScript on a server. So the actual definition is this. It is a runtime environment. Yeah, a runtime environment that allow you or that allow the execution of JavaScript on a server. Let's talk of the execution or allows you to run JavaScript code on a server. Yeah. So it is actually a runtime environment. It is not a programming language. It is a runtime environment. So JavaScript, if you go as per for example, if you go as per the Chrome browser, JavaScript runtime is actually built on Chrome's, and we have what we call the version 8 JavaScript engine. Number 2, JavaScript is running on the server. Whenever you're using Node.js, it means that the JavaScript is going to run on a server. You must execute that JavaScript from the server. Node.js, again, is also used to build powerful, let's say, it's actually used to build powerful, fast, and scalable web applications. And at the end of it all, you will be able to see how we can get a basic web server just to come up with a basic web server so that will summarize the understanding of Node.js. It also uses an event-driven, non-blocking input-output model, and that is what we'll be talking about. Now, I want to make sure that this topic serves as an introduction. So one is that Node.js is a runtime environment that allows the execution or that allows you to run JavaScript on a server. So just to know, there's JavaScript and there's the server. So for you to execute that JavaScript on the server, we need to use Node.js. Now, remember, again, the most important thing that you can talk of is what can we build with Node.js? Remember, this is the start of your software development. This is the actual start of your software development career. Leave alone the JavaScript part of it, but now the Node.js. The understanding of JavaScript is being brought about by now you starting the Node.js as you move forward. So you must understand. So let's say number one, you can actually do what you call the REST APIs. REST APIs and backend applications. REST APIs and backend applications. Number two, we can talk about real-time services. For example, chats. You can also have games, etc. Games, etc. Number three, you can have, let's say, blocks. Social applications. Number four, you can have, let's talk of utilities. Oops. But the most important thing that we encounter is the first one, because how can we do the APIs? API is a short form for application programming interfaces. So we have what you call the REST APIs. So you must know, because apart from Node.js, you must work on the APIs. So you must get a good understanding. Just understand Node.js at its simplicity. And from there, you'll be able to cover most of these things, the backend applications, the REST APIs, and even for the payments. If you remember the payments, like the M-Pesa integration, you have to use these APIs. So that API is through Node.js. So it's a good point for you to take note of. Another thing you need to know about is what you call the NPM, the Node.js NPM. It's actually a utility. So this stands for Node Package Manager. Stands for Node Package Manager. It's also a good thing you need to take note of. So this is actually a Node.js Package Manager. Number two, it's actually used to install. When you talk about the package manager, it contains packages. So if you want to install any Node programs or modules, you need to make use of what? This NPM, because there are different package managers for different scenarios. So at some point, if you're working on an application or even an API and you require a module or a program, you need to install it using the NPM. Now, NPM again is easy to specify. Specify links, dependencies. So you'll find that if you want to get some dependencies, you can also go through that. And then we can talk about even modules get installed. Just the same way I talked about into the node underscore modules modules folder. And there are two ways. There's these commands. You can use npm install express, or you can also use npm install g express. Now, this is a module. This is a module. This is a module. but you can use npm. So using npm install, that is how you can install any module apart from the Express, because Express is one of the modules in Node.js. Now, there's this question there's this point, modules get installed into the Node modules. If you remember the way we were navigating through, the Node path, you go to programs, you come to Node.js, you go to Node modules. So it means that all the modules are going to be installed in this particular folder. Now, from this point, we have let's talk of popular modules. Let's talk of popular modules because popular Node.js modules, just to mention so that you can be aware of. Let's say number one, we have Express module. Now, what this module is all about? Express module is a module for web development. Let me just have some short web development from it. So it is connected to web development. Remember, we will have a basic web server, or you want to develop some web applications, you will require this module. We also have another one called Connect. Now, Connect is extensible, let's say HTTP. Remember, we have the HTTP server. And then this one again can become the framework. So if you have a good understanding of the Node.js or the Node.js environment, or how to use it on a runtime environment, as a runtime environment, you must also be connected or linked to some of these packages. So you must have an understanding of popular Node.js modules. So Express is one, Connect is one. Let me talk about, so we have a lot. We have other modules, popular modules. For example, we also have for like something called the socket.io. We have the pag, the Redis. So modules are there to serve as part of service provision, because if you're interested in web development, then you must think of the Express module. If you are thinking of using the HTTP server, then you must think also of installing the Connect, because that is how you can have the connection. And another thing you need to understand about Node.js as part of the introduction is what you call the package. Package.json file. Package.json file. Now, this package.json file, whenever you create this package.json file, it will go into, this goes in the root of your, let's say, of your package, and we'll see package, let's say package stroke application. And what this package.json file, probably you've come across it, the function or the functionality of its function is to tell the NPM, which is the Node package manager, how your package is structured, and what to do to install it. Yeah, what to do to install it. So you must actually know this package.json. For example, when you have a package.json, for example, assume that you've created one. Now, how does the structure look like? You'll find that it's starting with the two curly braces, the opening and the closing. And then you'll find that it will have something like this, like what is the name of the package? So you can talk of probably my list, and then it will come to the version. This is how it looks like. Let's say the version is 0.5 or 4. This is how your package will look like. So it will actually go down, and we will have an example so that we can check the structure of the package.json. So these are some of the important things that makes up Node.js. And you will have a lot of interesting topics as you move forward. Now, so without going that far, because the ultimate goal of this particular tutorial is to make the introduction part of Node.js, or to make Node.js more simpler for you to understand, I need to go back to the folder, because if you go to the Node.js, and there are different ways on how you can execute the code. If you can go directly to programs and then Node.js, you'll be able to find that you have this node. If you click at it, this is actually the CMD, or the command line, or the Node command line. And through this, you can actually perform some few Node or JavaScript code. And you may not actually be able to execute those codes, or if at all you want to execute, to showcase your execution in a browser, it may not be displayed, because this is just purely on command prompt. And let's just see, for example, if I just type, let's say, let's have like 4, press enter, it will give you 4. And let me just increase the properties so that you can see. So once Node is installed, you can have different shortcuts. You can go to the Node CMD, or you can go to the Windows command prompt, or you can also use the VS Code on the terminal, or you can also execute it on your live server, and then of course you go to the browser and get the result. So there are different ways on how to get the output of a Node.js file, of course in line to the actual JavaScript. Now, if I come and say 4 plus 4, it will give you 8. If I talk about variable z equals to 78, and then just say z, you can see that it's giving you 78. You can also do like the for loop. Just say var I equals to 0. Var I is less than, let's say 10. And then let's say I plus the increment of 1, like that. And then you can just do like that. Okay, so let me just repeat it. So here you can have a console dot log into brackets I. Yeah, now you can see that it is generating from 0 to 9. So you're talking about, this is actually the for loop. This for loop in JavaScript, so, or even in PHP. But now when it comes to creating a functions, you can also create the function here. Function, let's call it, let's have the routing, and then say hello into brackets, and then put like that. Just come and say console dot log into brackets, then hello. So the name of the function, hello. Okay, and then from there, press enter. Then just come on top of greeting, let's say hello readers. Yeah, you also get some hello readers. Now, this is actually the node command line, and you can still just execute some few lines. But remember, we have a limitation. If you remember the way we were using JavaScript in executing or using the document.html, get element by ID, get new document.write, document.get element by class name, get element by tag name. We had some limitations. We have some limitations here because I may not go through a lot here. For example, if I do console, dot log, then type like document, you can see that I'm getting document not defined. Or even if I try to get, just to do document dot get element by ID, and then do like node desktop. Yeah, so yes, you have a limitation when you're using this command line. You have a limitation. But now it is fair for you if you go as per the text editor. So from this scenario, I just want us to create a file. I just want us to create a file. And this file is going to give us some prompts. It's going to give us some prompts. At least we see the general overview of how Node.js actually operates. So from this point, I'm going to have an example of a file, and through this, we're going to install. And even before going to that, there's this part of the package.json. Package.json is very important. Let's just see the structure of package.json. And I want to create, I just want to create one package.json. Now, if you look at my folder here, I don't have, when you go to that node tester, I don't have, I only have one file, which is app.js. And if I can just bring this, just get the extensions, file extension. Yeah, you can see app.js. So let us create one package.json file. So how can we do that? So the way we can actually do it in different ways. You can start a terminal here, new terminal. So we have the new terminal there. And you can just do npm init. So we are trying to initialize node tester. And you can still do it from this point. You can actually do it npm init. So init for initialization, npm for node package manager. So there are different ways. You can do it from the Windows command prompt as long as you're operating from that folder, or you can still operate it from here. So let's just press enter and see. So I'm trying to initialize. So if I press enter, let's see what will be the outcomes. So for this one, it's going to create, now if you look at it, it's telling us that this utility will walk you through creating a package.json file. It only covers the most common items and tries to get sensible defaults. See npm help init for definitive documentation on these fields and exactly what they do. Use npm install, then the package name. Afterwards, install a package and save it as a dependency in the package.json. So dependencies, you can have a package, then you have some dependencies. Press C and then time to quit package name. So what is the package name? So the package name here, remember it is, so we can call it what? Package, let's call it package. And then press enter. Version is 1.0.0. Now remember my example here. This is what you call as the name. Your name is, or I wish I'd give it my list, but I've given it package. The version I have given here as an estimate 104, but here it's giving us by default 10. So you don't need to type anything, press enter, description, press enter, entry point app.js, so it's going to be related to that. And then test the command, just press enter. Git repository, enter, keywords, enter, all that, enter. And then is this okay? You can just type yes, and then look at this one. So this is what I was giving you. This is what I was trying to let you understand. That package.json will have a name. Here I've given it package. We'll have a version 1.0.0. Description, I've not given a description. Main file is app.js because it's going to be related to app.js. The script, like there's a tester, okay, license and effect. Now, if you click on package.json, you will be able to encounter this. So this is what is referred to as package.json. Remember, we talked about the responsibility or the actual functionality of a package.json is to tell NPM, that is the Node package manager, how your package is going to be structured. So from that perspective, having created the package.json, we need now to understand how to at least run one of the program. And for this one, I'm going to just have a simple application. Just have a simple application. So having a simple application, in as far as the app is concerned, I just want us to create an application that we can access it via our browser. And through our browser, we are going to create or have a server. So we want to launch a server, but this server is going to use the HTTP module. So we are going to assign the value, because if you look at this part, below here, it's giving us, if I click on this part, okay, it's going, then I click it, go live. Look at how it is. It's going to give me port 5500. You see, it's giving me port 5500 from the local host. So from the 5500, I'm able to access this file. And if you look at it, I've just typed const. So I just want to create a different server. So I'll just come and create a constant. I can call it HTTP equals to, then I want to pull this. I want to use this module called what? HTTP. I want to use this module called HTTP. So you will encounter a lot of these keywords like require. So I'm giving it from the apps. So this means that I'm creating a constant, and const is another word or is another keyword on how to declare a variable, how to create a variable. So we have const, we have var, and we also have let, if we remember. So from this point, so from this point, so it means that we are trying to pull this module called HTTP. Number two, I'm going to have another const, and then let's have the host name. So here I'm trying to prepare, so the host name is 127.0.0.1. And then we need also the port, because there's also what you call the listening port. So I'm going to have port. Now let's give it like 3000. Initially, remember we had like 5500. So this is the port, and then this is the host name. So host name, that is actually the local host, which is represented by 127.0.0.1. And then from here, I'm going to have like the const, another called server. So I want this to take care of all this HTTP. And then I'm creating a function called create server into bracket. I just want to use the request to get the request and the response. And then use the arrow function, just like that. That is the arrow function. And then from there, you can just put it like that and press enter. So at this point, I want to create a status code. So I want to get a response from the status code. And this code, I'm giving it like 300. Now, this value, this status code 300 is just to say everything is okay whenever you execute your code. Now, we need another response. And this one, I'm setting it to the header. And from the header, let me just give like content type. What would be the content type that's going to be displayed? And then what would be the display? What would be the display output? What would be the display output? So the display output on the content header, on the header is now the text, and then we have plain. Let me just have like plain text. And then we also have another response, which is going to tell us this is the end. And then we can have like, how are you? How are you? So from this point, I'm going to end. Then come here, I need to set, just to capture now the server itself, because I have all this information in this variable. So coming down here, I need to explain. So I need to attach the listening port, because at this point, we just mentioned the port. So here, I need to make use of all these variables. Just try to combine all of them. So I'll come here that for any executable file, it must listen to the port. And this port must be linked to the host name. And then into brackets, comma, then I have the two brackets, and then use, so this way you can have the parameters, then use the function arrow. And then again, I can have something similar to that. So since we need to have the information to be displayed, put it there. Then we can come and talk about the server started on port, server started on port. Then, so once you have that, you can just say plus port. So it must give us server started on port 3000. This is how you set your server. This is how you launch and set your server. So from this point, I want us to test. I want us to test how everything is okay. So let me save it. And from this point, we're going to create another file. Okay, so let me see. So if we go to your launching, let me just have it here. Let me just have node app. Now look at this. Server started on port 3000. Server started on port 3000. So it means now that we have this blinking part or this prompt. And this means now that instead of you executing or getting your outcome from this part, like server 5500, just come and do what? 3000. Press enter. Look at that. How are you? How are you? So this is the simplest. You need to understand this part. So for my case, I've actually prepared a server, because if I'm to run this, if I'm to run or apply it using by going live, then automatically it's going to pick what? It's going to pick 5,500. But I want my server to run on 3,000. So if I come and change that to 3,000, then it's going to be like that. And you can still change it. If you change it to, let's say, 5,000, okay, let's say 9,000. 9,000, then can we change? How are you classmates? How are you classmates? Okay, so if you do that and we've changed it to 9,000, what you can do is just come here and change it to 9,000. Now you can see that 9,000 is not going to give you that, but let's just see. So we have code 5,500. So for 9,000, we need to make sure that you restart the what? You restart your server. So I'll just Control D, D to stop my server. Okay, yeah, D to stop my server, and then restart the server. So this time around, it's running on 9,000. It's running on 9,000. So when you come here and press enter, now you can see 9,000, still giving you how are you. Since this is not recorded, it should give you how are you classmates. So this one is not saved. It should give you 9,000. So let's just reload the app, the Control D. Okay, let me just restart it again. CMD. So when you go to CMD, you can talk of, for this CMD, you can just have like Node. So just do Node app, press enter, and it's giving you 9,000. So when you go to this part and just do that and do localhost. So 127 .0.0.1 9,000. Giving you like, how are you? Because should also give us a different thing. So let me just stop this one. And let me go live again. And let me change this. Okay, so probably it's out of range. But if I bring it back to 3,000, then stop that, then go live, then come back here, reload it. Then we come to CMD, then I have Node app. Now it's running on 3,000. So let's see. So you can come, just come, sorry for that. So you can have 127.0.0.1, then 3,000. Okay, I don't know, it's not giving me how are you classmates, but it's giving me a different thing. So if I just do you're good. So this will require me to restart, like to restart, whenever you make changes, you have to restart your your server. You have to restart your server. Node app 3000. Now it's telling me you are good. It's telling me you are good. So since we have this, apart from the package, JSON, and of course from just running the common or how to handle servers, what to create servers, we can also talk about the file systems. And how do we do the file systems? So to make sure that you had a file system, we can make some adjustments. So come down here. Let's just have like const, and then let's have the fs equals to require fs. So I'm kind of importing file system module. I'm kind of importing file system module. And then from this point, so we have the const, so this is what I've just added, just to add a file system. And through this file system, it's going to prompt us to at least capture some errors or kind of handle errors. So let me come below port here. Let me have fs.read file into brackets. So I want this to read an external file, index.html. Then from here, we will have like, I need to handle the error. If I told there'll be an error, HTML, then again, I'm going to use the arrow function and then curly brace and press enter. Then we're going to use an if statement. If error or that error, what happens? If there's an error, what happens? So we want it to throw that error. We want it to throw the error. Now, from this point, I need to come down here. So I will assign a semicolon at the end, but I'm going to kind of expand this section here. And from here, I can have all this information. So before we come there, let me have all this information here. Let me have all this information here. So this is the common information we've had. And then we have the status is 3000. That is the status code. We also have the set header, content plane. Then we have, so instead of, before we have the end, I need to add another response here that write into bracket, we have HTML. We have HTML. And then from here, I'm not going to put anything here. Now from here, because we are testing on index.html, then I'll come here and create now index.html. Then I will have the basic code. And then here I can just have, it's just for testing, I can have h1. And then just say, my first node class, my first node class. So here I have some instructions given that through the execution or through running of this port on this server, I'll be able to get some content, and the content should be handled in the browser, which come through this part. So from this point, I want to go and execute the 3000 so that you can see. So before that, we need to restore. So let me just do it. D X. I need to cancel. Just cancel it. Then I want to go and reload it. CMD. So just come on top of Node app. Now, whenever you make changes, make sure you restart the server. So port 3000. Now, when I come to port 3000 and press enter, port 3000 is supposed to read my files, index.html. Index.html. The changes are not yet. 127, 3000. Still good. So it means that my server is not yet, it's not yet closed. Server is not responding. So let me come here and use the terminal. Node app. So port 3000. So let me go to Node 3000. Let's have an index.html. Okay, so we got live server. Let's see what happens. Go live. So 5500. Okay, so it's going by 5500. But now when I go to need 3000. Oh, so my server has not yet released the previous part, because if you look at the content, already we've changed it. So there's no more you are good. But here on the browser is giving us you are good. So we need to make sure that we find a way. So again, if I go back to this part, CMD, I want to just to do Node app. Okay, so then Node app. So I'm getting this information. Okay, so I think I'll push it from that point. Thank you. So if you look at this, let's go back to the server. So I think we've had some issues with the 3000. So since we've started different servers, and I think they're the ones that are not yet released. But if you run it, then you'll be able to capture the HTML file. So the index, you will get this information, my first node class. So this is actually how it changed. But the only thing you need to make sure that you adjust is this part. You have to change it to HTML. So make sure that you change it to HTML. So this is just about the basic way of creating or building, just a simple web server. And we are giving 3000 as our default port or our port number. We're giving 27.0.0.1 as the default, the local host. And if you go as per the port, let's say the VS Code port, it's actually 5500. So if you dispose and click go live, then automatically you'll be able to get my first node class. But we are not interested at using the 5500. We want to use our own port, which is actually 3000. And using the 3000, you must have the server running. So you restart the server anytime you make some changes. So let's see whether I can fix it on the next lesson. But this is actually going to serve as a good introduction to you, to understanding Node.js. So thank you, and see you in the next tutorial.